Hello everyone, it's the Firefly Simmer here, and today I'm going to be reviewing the Sims 4 Business and Hobbies expansion pack. This expansion pack isn't one of the worst expansion packs Sims 4 has had. It's still disappointing in a lot of ways, like a lot of Sims 4 packs are disappointing, but it's not the worst expansion pack that we've gotten. But there's a whole lot of things that could have made this pack way better than what it was, and it was a pretty disappointing pack nonetheless. Alright, as usual, I'm going to start with the negatives and then with the positives. The first negative is I don't think this pack comes with enough new content. If it's going to be called Businesses and Hobbies, it needs to come with more hobbies than just pottery and tattooing. I'm sure there are a lot more things that they could have included. This would have been the perfect pack to introduce a manicure skill or a pedicure skill, and your Sims could do a bunch of different nail designs. It would allow you to create custom nail designs along with the hairstyling skill. It could allow you to create custom hairstyles. I know a lot of people use this pack to create a bootleg hair salon where they would use the styling station from Get Famous to create a bunch of random hairstyles, but we need a real hairstyling tool where we can create custom hairstyles ourselves. Same goes for doing nails. The next negative that I have to say about this pack is it basically gives you the option to open a bunch of bootleg businesses. And what I mean by that is on the EA website, when it gives the description of this pack, it says if you have the movie Hangout pack that you could open your own theater by using the items in that pack. However, how are you really going to open a movie theater without having specific showtimes for each film and not having a concession stand? People are going to say, oh, well, if you use the popcorn maker and the candy machine, you could have a concession stand. But it's no, you need to have someone behind the counter serving the food. I would rather a realistic concession stand rather than having to do some type of bootleg concession stand. That's just weird. Also, on the EA website, they had the audacity to advertise that if you own the Get Together expansion pack, you could open up your own arcade with this pack. But how are you going to open up an arcade with only 2 arcade items? Get Together only comes with 2 arcade items, the arcade rug and then that arcade machine. That's it. How are you going to open up a full-fledged arcade business? Would you go to an arcade where they only had 2 types of games? That's weird. So that's an example of it giving us the option to open bootleg businesses and then advertising that as some type of high-quality expansion pack, which I don't think this is a high-quality expansion pack. The next negative is that this expansion pack does rely way too much on other expansion packs to make it exciting. For example, the option to create a spa should have came with the Spa Day game pack that we got a long time ago. The option to own a gym business should have already been in the game, because when we got the Dine Out game pack, that pack came with the option to open your own restaurant. And then when we got the Sims 4 Cats and Dogs expansion pack, that pack came with the option to open your own veterinary clinic. So the Spa Day pack should have come with the option to own your own spa business. This Business and Hobbies expansion pack just basically gives us the option to do things that we should have already been able to do. We should have already been able to own a bar and own a nightclub and have those types of businesses. Instead of relying so much on other expansion packs to try to act like they're giving us new content by just basically enhancing the features of other expansion packs, they could have incorporated a lot of new skills and items that would have made it possible for us to own newer types of businesses that we didn't really have before, like hair salons and nail salons and a concession stand for a functioning movie theater, more arcade items so that we actually can build a functioning arcade. They just really missed the mark on this pack. It had so much potential and opportunity, but they just really dropped the ball. And to me, it just seemed kind of lazy. Oh, we're going to give you the option to have a bunch of bootleg small businesses, where everything doesn't function right. And the daycare is another example. A lot of people were excited about building daycares, but I already knew because of the mechanics that were going to be in this expansion pack that you weren't going to be able to have a full functioning daycare. Back in 2017, I built this gym on The Sims 4 that had a daycare in it. Because I've seen gyms in real life that have had daycares for kids inside of them. The parents could drop their kids off and then they can go work out, and then after they're done working out, they pick up the kids from the daycare that's inside the gym. So I had already had a lot where a daycare was inside a gym, and I tried to make that functioning with this expansion pack, but it didn't really work because instead of staying in the daycare area, the kids would just run all around the gym, basically doing whatever. So it's like the fact that I had a daycare and that gym was pretty pointless. The next negative, I don't really think this pack is compatible with Get to Work or Dine Out, and you think that it would be, since Get to Work comes with the option to make a retail store, Dine Out comes with the option to make a restaurant, and this pack's all about businesses and opening new businesses and having basically whatever type of business you want, even though you can't really have whatever type of business you want. The retail system in Get to Work really doesn't work with the small business option that this pack gives you, and also as far as Dine Out goes, you can't create your own restaurant menu with this new expansion pack, which why not? Even though it's supposed to be more so centered around small businesses, you should be able to create a restaurant menu for that small business. I would have loved to been able to build a Cracker Barrel type business where like one side of the business is a retail store and the other side is a restaurant. But so much for making that type of business in this game. Like, they really should have made this pack compatible with Get to Work and with Dine Out. That way we could had both a retail store and a restaurant on the same lot, but it doesn't function like that. Also, what about the option to open an animal shelter where you could have a bunch of stray animals on the lot and then people literally come and adopt the dogs and the cats and the horses or whatnot from that lot? That would have been awesome, and since they already have stray cats and dogs in the game, you think that that would be a possibility, but it's not. And by the way, why does this pack, if it's a $40 expansion pack, plus tax and maybe even more from some people, depending on what state or wherever you live, why does it not come with the option to create big businesses where you can have more than 4 people work for your business? Because instead of just having the option to create a small business, I personally would like to create a big business with more than 4 employees, with at least 6 or 8 employees. The next negative is that your sim can only really hire people that they know. Like, I remember when I created my first business on the game, I had to introduce myself to new sims so that I would have people to hire. And then after you introduce yourself to that sim, you could ask them to work for your business, which in real life, that's not really how hiring processes work, but whatever. I liked how when the Sims 4 Get to Work, they gave you like an option, a list of sims to choose from to hire to work for your business, and then you could assign them to specific roles. In this Business and Hobbies expansion pack, you have to literally go out and find sims to work for your business, like introduce yourself to them, and then like that to me was ridiculous. The next negative is that when I would assign uniforms for the small businesses, for whatever reason, the employees did not keep the uniforms on. When I'd open the business, they still be in their regular clothes. And it's like, what's the point of giving me the option to assign employees a uniform if they're not going to wear them? I'm assuming that is a glitch, but I don't think that it's a glitch that's been fixed yet. Another issue that I ran into is that I couldn't kick paparazzi out of my businesses. Like if a famous sim was there, I could not make paparazzi leave, which is pretty annoying. And the last negative thing that I have to say about this pack is I would have much rather an expansion pack that was centered around malls and the option to like create a big mall with a bunch of different stores inside that mall, a bunch of new business options, instead of giving us the option to just make a business out of things that are mostly already in the game. Because like I said, as far as new content, they gave us tattooing, pottery, and candy making, which, okay, this pack does feel more like a game pack than an expansion pack, especially since you can only create small businesses. The option to create a fully functioning mall would have just been so much better. You know, like a mall with a food court and a hair salon, a nail salon, and then you could have had a tattoo parlor in that mall, and you could have had a couple different restaurants in that mall, and maybe a pet store in that mall. Like, that would have been really cool and served a lot more purpose instead of just the option to create a bunch of bootleg small businesses. So yeah, this definitely should have been a game pack. Alright, now on to the positives. I think one of the best things that this pack has to offer is the Create a Sim clothing. I think it comes with pretty decent clothing and hairstyles for your Sims. I think the world of Nordhaven is also pretty, like it's okay. Like, it's not, Nordhaven is not the best world that we've ever gotten. It definitely feels like a world that would come with a game pack since it's pretty small. But I do like it when they incorporate other cultures into the game. Like, I think this pack is supposed to be based around Scandinavian culture. If I'm not mistaken, I'm not too sure. But yeah, I think it's a lot of Scandinavian things that they've included into this pack. And my last positive is I do like the fact that I have the option to own all these different community lots that I created. in the past. I think in some ways this pack is a game changer and it does add more excitement to the game. But there are so many things that could have made it better, and so many things that were left out, and it just makes me think if they actually do end up creating a pack that has the option to create a hair salon and a nail salon and more business types, what are they going to call that pack? Get to Work, Business and Hobbies Part 2 or Part 3, you know what I mean? Like, Sims 3 would have never done this to us. Like, when Sims 3 was releasing a pack, like for example, when they had a Supernatural pack, they included just about every occult type there is in that pack. They didn't necessarily split a bunch of different occult types throughout different packs. If the Sims 4 were to release a pack around instruments, they would most likely give you 3 new instruments and then maybe include saxophones and harps in like a whole different pack and try to make it seem like it was this new exciting thing when really all those things should have all been in the same pack. So anyways, I hope that the next expansion pack that we get is really good. It doesn't end up like Business and Hobbies and Love Struck to where it's a big disappointment. Like, I have a feeling that it might be, or that there might be a lot of things in the next expansion pack that are a big disappointment because that's what The Sims 4 has a habit of doing. But like I said, hopefully the next expansion packs are better because I've been very disappointed lately with these expansion packs. Business and Hobbies and Love Struck, like those two just really kind of fell flat for me. And The Sims 4 really needs to step it up. Alright, so that's it for my review of The Sims 4 Business and Hobbies. If you enjoyed this video, please click the like button. Subscribe if you want to see more Sims content. And I hope you all have a wonderful day.